Hey there, class. So this video is going to be on Bernard the Brave by Marjorie Sharp, and this is chapter 4. So make sure you have watched the videos for chapters 1, 2, and 3 before starting this video, or you will be totally lost. Go ahead and review the reading log you've set up so far, which should be chapter 1, chapter 2, and chapter 3. It should look just like the page on the side of the screen on the right side. And set up a new reading log for chapter 4. Pause the video while you get this ready, and when you're ready to begin, start the video again. Alright, hey second graders, so today you are in for a big treat. This is my dad, and he read to me a lot when I was a kid. So he is going to read chapter 4, which is titled Algernon in Bernard the Brave. And here we are in beautiful backyard of Colorado. So remember to pause the video anytime you hear a really interesting word, you get more information for your somebody wanted but so then statement, or you have any questions or predictions. We, of course, as partner readers, will be stopping and asking some questions and looking at interesting words as well. So make sure you're doing the same at home. You can pause the video at any time. You can go back and re-listen to something. You can just keep a notebook as you're going, but make sure you're getting as much out of this read aloud as you can. Are you ready, Daddy?
I am.
Awesome. So this is chapter 4, Algernon. Go ahead.
Okay. Bernard pushed and pushed against the heavy wooden lid until every muscle ached. Then he tried nibbling around an air hole in the hopes of enlarging it sufficiently, that means enough, for him to be able to squeeze through. But the play box was made of teak, the hardest wood there is, and he soon realized that his teeth would be worn to stumps before he achieved any success.
Poor Bernard.
Yeah. Frustrated and exhausted, Bernard at last quite collapsed, but at least onto something soft. It was Carity's teddy bear. As teddy bears go, it was quite a small one, little more than 8 inches or so long, with gingery fur and boot-button eyes and a general air of dilapidation, that means decay or ruin, only to be expected after a life with Carrot.
So wait, I'm going to pause you right there.
Okay.
So I'm thinking about this teddy bear that Bernard just fell on, and it says that he's kind of in decay or in ruin. I wonder how Carity, which is the girl with red hair from the chapter before, I wonder how she treats her stuffed animals. Probably not very well.
Probably not very well, I don't think so.
No.
Okay, well, let's go on. Pardon me, said Bernard, ever polite, though practically in extremis. I was so bent on trying to get out I didn't notice you.
So that term, in extremis, means that he's on the point of death or in a dire situation. He's exhausted.
That's from a foreign language that's not spoken very much anymore, called Latin.
It is a dead language, so it's in extremis. Ah!
Let's see, where were we? Okay, I was so bent on trying to get out I didn't notice you. Then he clutched, so to speak, at a straw, of which several protruded through the bear's worn gingery coat. I suppose you couldn't shove it a bit, too, suggested Bernard. Awfully sorry, old chap, lisped the teddy bear, who came originally from a great London toy shop. But I've lost so much of my stuffing, I'm perfectly incapable of any effort whatsoever. But this is a matter of urgency, pressed Bernard. I've absolutely got to get out of here without loss of time in order to rescue a young lady held prisoner by her wicked guardian.
Oh, no.
Goodness me, what an exciting life you must lead, admired Teddy Bear. You don't play polo, too, by any chance? Actually, I have, said Bernard, with an Indian team called the Princely Orchids. Dashed sporting chaps, Some of those Indians, said the teddy bear. Dashed good at cricket, too. My name's Algernon, if it's of any interest. Mine's Bernard, said Bernard. I'm also, if it's of any interest, secretary of the Mouse Prisoners' Aid Society, so you'll see why I have to get on with the job. You seem to be a dashed sporting chap all round, complimented Algernon. All right, I'll do my feeble best. That means feeble means weak. And when he keeps saying dashed, that's an English sort of slang for a fine person. A dashed sporting chap. A fine sporting chap. His best wasn't so bad after all. His stuffing wasn't quite all out of him. Bernard's and Algernon's united efforts raised the lid just sufficiently for Bernard to squeeze out. And looking back, he saw that Algernon, by inserting his muzzle, stuffed with wood shavings, had shoved it actually high enough for him to scramble out also.
Yay! They got out of the box. Yay!
I've got so dashed bored in here, he explained. I believe I'll come along with you on your prisoner rescuing.
Uh-oh.
This is trouble, right?
Yeah, sounds like trouble to me.
Okay. Well, Bernard had first got himself into a young ladies' boarding school. Then he'd been called cute. Now the last thing he wanted was an effete, soft toy tagging after him.
Why?
I don't know. Could be trouble, though.
Yeah, what's going on in Bernard's mind that he doesn't want this stuffed animal coming along to help him? Like, why?
Bernard may be just kind of an independent guy.
He might be. He is trying to prove something, if we remember back to the beginning of the story. Yeah, Bianca seems to get all the credit, even if Bernard is the brave one. So.
Yeah, that's it. Okay. Well, don't think of it, said Bernard hastily. Much as I appreciate... Algernon's lisp was catching. Your gallant offer. Far better stay where you are. But Algernon was already flexing long disused muscles.
I wonder what that sentence means.
He'd been laying around for a long time. Right?
He did. And I love how the author points out that Algernon's lisp was catching. So the way he speaks was kind of contagious. I know that if I've been around my dad or my mom for too long, I begin talking like they do.
Yep. You acquire that accent.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see, where were we?
Here.
One of my long ago ancestors, he remarked, was, I believe, spared from being shot by the American president, Teddy Roosevelt. Hence our family nickname.
Teddy.
How I wish he'd been spared from being shot by George Washington. However, the nickname, as I say, has tagged us ever since, and I must say I would like to add a little luster to it. Which way do we go now?
I'm going to stab my dad. So that was a little piece of history there that you may not know. But the American president, Teddy Roosevelt, he was president when? 30, 40, 50, 30?
Oh, way back. Teddy Roosevelt
time
was
ago.
back in the 1900 to 1915.
So a really long time ago. And he used to go hunting, right?
Yeah.
And there were bears, naturally. And didn't he shot a bear? And then did he save bears or something?
Then he came, yes, he was famous for big game hunting.
Okay, that's like
including
big animals.
bears. And, he ultimately decided the bears needed a home and a place to live. And he was the first president to establish national parks.
So he established these national parks to keep the bears safe, even though he used to hunt them. And so those bears got a new name. So they started stuffing bears, and they called them teddy bears after Teddy Roosevelt, who set up the homes for bears. That's pretty cool. All right, minor history note. Please continue.
Well, let's go on. Let's see. Which way do we go now? Obviously, first down to street level, said Bernard resignedly. also rather deliberately rolling the R in street. To start again, for it seems Miss Thomasina isn't incarcerated here at all. So, down again it must be, and I hope you can show me where we can get on the service lift, because I've had enough of stairs, up or down, to last me a lifetime.
We talked about a service lift in the last chapter being an elevator so that he didn't have to get all the way up those stairs again.
Okay. It's easy to see how you know little about boarding schools, said Algernon. The only service lift here, one's non-stop between the kitchen and the headmistress's own quarters.
Ooh.
All the spoiled paper the young ladies have done exercises on in class, like all the Kleenexes and curl papers they leave lying about in the dormitory, are collected in sacks by scrubwomen and taken down to the back door by hand. Actually, Addie and Amy should be here in 2 shakes, which may be a bit of luck for you and me.
So, I'm wondering as we continue to read, and maybe this would be a good time for you to pause the video, what exactly is Algernon saying they should do? What is he implying? Because he's trying to tell Bernard something, but he's not saying it out loud. So pause the video, make a prediction about what that might be, because I think we're going to get the answer pretty soon.
And I see here that Bernard has it figured out. You mean our best chance of getting down is in a scrubwoman's sack? Demanded Bernard distastefully. Our only chance, corrected Algernon. Hark, here they come. Lie low and pretend to be dead, like me. It was easy enough for Algernon to pretend he was dead. He just unflexed his muscles and let himself flop, flat as though he had been run over. But Bernard was in the pink of condition, if a little overweight. He weighed 1.5 ounces. Moreover, after all his efforts, he was still puffing like a miniature steam engine.
So I've made 2 connections here. One is that 1.5 ounces is about a serving size of cheese. So I think it's a little funny that a mouse weighs about as much as a piece of cheese that we would eat. And the second thing I'm thinking about is a self-to-media connection, which is Toy Story. In the movie Toy Story, there are stuffed animals, and every time a human walks in, they relax and they flop over. And so that's how I'm picturing Algernon right now in the chapter.
So, even though he's puffing like a miniature steam engine, however, by lying supine, that means motionless, with all 4 feet in the air, he trusted to deceive a scrubwoman's passing glance. And so he did. For scarcely had Addie and Amy entered and begun their work than the latter let out a squeal, quite unlike the pleased squeals of the little girls. Goodness, here's a dead mouse, cried she. Do put it in your sack, dear, for I never could abide mice dead or alive. You are too sensitive for your own good, dear, said Addie, boldly picking up Bernard by the tail and tossing him in among the spoiled exercise papers. And here's an old teddy bear, she added. What rubbish the young ladies do turn out of their lockers. So in went Algernon beside Bernard, and the 2 scrubwomen, after collecting all the Kleenexes and curl papers as well, set off downstairs chatting all the way.
So go ahead and write down, was your prediction correct? Did their plan work?
On the first floor down, against a clatter through the baize door of the young ladies' knives and forks at supper, they just discussed their Easter bonnets. Easter bonnets meaning as much to a scrubwoman as any topknot worn by a midinette in Paris on St. Catherine's Day. And that's pretty fancy.
Very fancy.
But on the second, where the empty classrooms were, Amy thought of something else. With blue velvet ribbons and a pink rose. My goodness, I've just remembered. she exclaimed. That I'm having a pink rose on mine? Said Addie. No, dear. Now you mention it, didn't I choose a pink rose first? What I've only just now remembered is that all the dustmen are on strike.
Oh no! That means they're refusing to go to work.
So the dustmen are like the garbage collectors. Okay. That's an English term. So it's no use putting this lot outside to be collected. 'Twill only mean more mess and litter around the back door.
Oh no! What about Bernard and Algernon?
Uh-oh.
How are they going to get out of the bags?
They're in trouble. Aren't you the clever one? Admired Addie. What shall we do with them then? Why, pop 'em into the incinerator, said Amy. The ears of Bernard and Algernon both burned and froze. Look here, muttered Bernard. Just what I was going to say myself, agreed Algernon. We must somehow get out of here before we're, well, burnt to cinders. Obviously, said Algernon. As to how, I leave entirely to you, old chap.
So we've mentioned several times this incinerator. It was in the last chapter too, where Bernard went around it. But we haven't defined it perfectly for you. So what I would like you to think is, how do the words burnt to cinders and why are they afraid? How do those things help you figure out what an incinerator is and why they are afraid to go into it? Keep going.
Okay. By now they had reached the cellarage. That's the basement. Nothing now could be heard from above at all. No clatter of knives and forks from the dining room, no rumor from the kitchen. The only sound that broke the silence was the roaring of the huge, grim, iron-bound incinerator.
More clues.
But did Bernard fail his companion? No. Thrusting up through the Kleenexes and curl papers, he pushed his head out of the sack and yelled, Yaboo! He hadn't yelled Yaboo since the how long ago Halloweens when, but a stripling mouse, he'd followed in his bigger brother's footsteps, demanding tricks or treats. Yaboo! Yelled Bernard again. My goodness, it's alive.
So wait, why is he yelling Yaboo? What is he hoping will happen if he yells this enough to these ladies?
Well, we'll see, won't we? Okay. My goodness, it's alive, cried both the scrub women together, and, unlike the young ladies, immediately looked about for something to jump up on. Their only resource was a chopping block, left over from the days when the incinerator burned wood, and on it both huddled precariously, as Bernard finally scrambled out of the sack, hauling Algernon after him. There's a door open behind us, gasped Bernard. Come quick. Yaboo! And we can get away. Algernon followed with, for an effete soft toy, an uncommon turn of speed, and also with a cry of Yaboo on his own account. And in two shakes they were out in the kindly shadow of the dustbins, while the incinerator, defrauded of its prey, roared more angrily than ever.
So, a feat, which has been mentioned twice now, means lacking strength. It means without strength. And that's a pretty good description of a teddy bear. And then the last thing in that last sentence, the incinerator, defrauded of its prey, means without getting it, roared more angrily than ever. This is another literary term that thing that authors do, which is called personification. They give people feelings and emotions to inanimate objects because an incinerator can't actually be angry. And the incinerator doesn't actually know that it didn't get to eat up Bernard and Algernon. So it's called personification. Pretty good advice.
Well, that danger's past, panted Bernard. I'm still not sure why you wanted to get into that young lady's boarding school at all, said Algernon, shaking a curl paper out of his ear. I made a bloomer,
Mistake.
said Bernard honestly. I took it for the biggest house on the Grand Boulevard, which evidently it isn't. It's these dashed long distance glasses of mine, he added. I knew at the time I shouldn't have let myself be talked into buying them, and I'll never wear them again. Now, we'll just have to ask someone which is the biggest. At that very moment, there scurried into view a respectable-looking mouse, who by the size of the basket she carried was taking home laundry. Pardon me, ma'am, said Bernard, but perhaps you can tell us which is the biggest house on the Grand Boulevard. Why, the one you've just come out of, said the washerwoman. There was a bigger, belonging to a gentleman one heard say, living in the country, but he sold it to be torn down to make a site for the supermarket. And I'm sure every mouse should be grateful to him for the pickings from a supermarket, after all the lady cashiers have gone home, are a rodent's dream.
Oh no, there's a new problem. Where's Lady Thomasina?
Thank you very much, said Bernard. Not at all, said the washerwoman. Only glad to be of service. And if ever you should want any clear starching, the name is Mrs. Nibblecheese.
That's a great name. All right, so we have a new problem. So make sure you write down what our new problem that Bernard is facing with Algernon.
With that she hurried on, and there was a slight pause while it began to rain really hard. Where do we go now? Asked Algernon. Back home, said Bernard, where I shall give Nicodemus a piece of mind.
Uh-oh. Nicodemus is the mouse that told them that Thomasina was being held by her wicked guardian in the big house where they ended up. But I wonder why that means that Bernard is mad at Nicodemus, because he sounds kind of angry.
Yeah.
I wonder what's going to happen when they go home. But that will have to wait for tomorrow. So, this is my dad. Thank you,
kids.
Dad.
Bye-bye.
So, you did a great job reading. Now, make sure you stay tuned for the listening questions at the end of the video, and check back in for Chapter 5, titled A Fresh Start, tomorrow. Try making some predictions about what might happen in that chapter. And make sure you finish your Somebody Wanted But So Then and any questions you might still have remaining, because they might get answered in the next video or two. So, see you soon. Bye.